next section, 4.2, is solving linear inequalities. Very similar in terms of its process to solving linear equations with small adjustments to what the answer represents. Before we go ahead and start looking at how to address this, I do want to take a minute to explain the difference between an equation and an inequality. An equation equates your expression to a number. So you'll have 4x minus 1 equals 0. You're trying to find the x value that will produce an input. You're trying to find the x value or the input which will produce a y value or an output of 0, a very specific answer. With inequalities, you no longer have the equal sign being used. You're going to have 3x minus 1 is less than 8. Because your question, what you're starting with, is a range, it's less than 8. So it could be any number as long as it's less than 8. Your answer would have to be a range of values. So what I'm trying to get at is, for equations, you have one answer or two answers or three answers. There's a finite amount of answers. With inequalities, you potentially have an infinite amount of answers because there's a lot of numbers that would be less than 8. As long as 3x minus 1 is less than 7, 6, 5, 5.5, 2.5, 3.325. There's a lot of possible answers. So when you have an inequality, your answer would have to be an inequality, meaning a range of numbers. So let's go through and see how we would apply that here. 3x minus 1 is less than 8. In terms of our process, it would be the same as if it was an equation. We'll take 1 to the other side and add it because it's subtracting on this side. So 3x is less than 9. Then divide by 3 on both sides. So x is less than 3. What this means is, let's say 0, that's 3. 3x minus 1 is less than 8. The solution to this inequality is all the numbers that are less than 3. So if I took any number less than 3 and plugged it into this equation, my answer would be less than 8. So for example, if I plugged in negative 4. Negative 4 times 3 would be negative 12. Subtract 1 would be negative 13, which is definitely less than 8. This is what I mean by your solution to an inequality will be another inequality. You should not end up with one specific answer if what you're starting with is an inequality. Let's go to our second example. 35 minus 2x is greater than or equal to 20. In order to solve this, we'll go through the same process. Let's take 35 to the other side and subtract. So we'll have negative 2x is greater than or equal to 20 minus 35 is negative 15. Next step, I'm going to take the negative 2 to the other side and divide by negative 2. Now, because I have divided by a negative number, my sign, my inequality, flips. It was greater than or equal to, now it has become less than or equal to, only because I multiplied or divided by a negative number. In this case, I divided by negative 2, but I could easily have referred to it as multiplying by negative half, right? We're not doing that here. We're using negative 2 as a division. But if you multiply or divide by a negative number, your inequality flips. Then negative 15 divided by negative 2 would be positive 7.5. 7.5. What does that look like on a number line? Any number less than or equal to, again, when it's equal to, you fill in the circle, less than or equal to 7.5 will give you a value that is greater than or equal to 20. And the reason for that is that number gets multiplied by negative 2. Let's do one more example, and then that's the lesson. The last example is when you have a double inequality, meaning you have your expression and there's an inequality on both sides. It has to be greater than or equal to 30. Our expression has to be greater than or equal to 30, but less than or equal to 46. What do we do in that case? Our first step is going to be to simplify our equation. I don't want to deal with this long and convoluted answer. I want to simplify it down. We'll have 30 is less than or equal to, I'll have 46 here. We're going to expand this. 3 times 2x plus 4. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 4 is 12. Negative 2 times x is minus 2x. Negative 2 times 1 is minus 2. Let's continue to group our like terms. So 6s and minus 2x, and then 12 and negative 2 will be combined. Less than or equal to 6x minus 2x is 4x. 12 minus 2 is 10. This is now the inequality we need to solve. Now, there's a 4x plus 10. We need this to be x by itself, so I'm going to remove the plus 10 and then remove the 4. Because it's a double inequality, whatever I do, I have to do it to both sides. So if I subtract 10 here, I'm going to subtract 10 here. 30 minus 10 is 20. Less than or equal to, because the 10 is gone, I only have 4x. Then 46 minus 10 is 36. To get rid of the 10, I have to subtract 10. Well, I'll subtract 10 from here and from here. 30 minus 10 is 20. 46 minus 10 is 36. Next, I have 4x. In order to get rid of the 4, I need to divide by 4. Well, then I have to divide by 4 on both sides of the inequalities. So 20 divided by 4 will be 5. Less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 36 divided by 4, which is 9. And this would be the answer. Any x value that is between 5 and 9 will satisfy our initial inequality. If you want to see that visually, all it means that this is, I need more space, 0, that's 5, that's 9. Any value between 5 and 9 would satisfy our inequality.